Today's objective is solving inequalities using multiplication and division. Let's do an experiment. You know that 2 equals 2, 3 equals 3, 4 equals 4, 5 equals 5. Let's multiply each of these by -1. Now we have -2 equals -2, -3 equals -3, -4 equals -4, and -5 equals -5. When we have an equation and we do the same thing on both sides of the equation, there's no change. They're still equal. All right, now let's do that same experiment with an inequality. Okay, remember greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, those are the inequalities. They're not equal. So we know that 4 is greater than 1, 6 is less than 13, -10 is less than -8, and 3 is greater than -1. Now let's multiply each of these by -1. Okay, so this becomes -4 and -1, -6 and -13, -10 and -8. When I multiply them by -1, they become +10 and +8, because remember, negative times negative is positive, and these become -3 and +1. If I carry over my inequality symbol the same way that it is that statement still true? Let's look at the first one. If I go like this and say -4 is greater than -1, is that true? No, -4 is not greater than -1. So what do we need to change? In order to keep this statement true, when we multiply by -1, we need to change our inequality symbol to face the other way. This was greater than, I needed to make it be less than, because -4 is less than -1. This was less than, I need to make it be greater than, because -6 is greater than -13. This was less than, it needs to be greater than also, because 10 is greater than 8. And the last one was greater than, but now it needs to be less than, because -3 is less than 1. So here's a rule I want you to write down. Pause it in the middle, okay? Rule: when you multiply or divide by a negative number in an inequality, you need to change the direction of the inequality symbol to make the statement true. I hope you paused that a few times so you got it all written down. Here are some examples. I have -2 times x is greater than 18. Now you know the inverse operation of multiplication is division, so we'll divide each side by -2. And anything over itself becomes 1, so I carry down the x. But I need to change the direction of the inequality symbol to be less than, and 18 divided by -2 is -9, because different signs give you a negative in multiplication. Now let's check. Now that, remember, the checks are different with inequality symbols. If it has an or equal to, you can pick the number that is our answer, but otherwise you need to follow the rule. So this says x is less than -9. So I'm going to choose -10, because -10 is a number that's less than -9. Okay, you have to choose a number that makes this true. So now I'm going to substitute -10 into my original equation of -2 times x. -2 times -10 is greater than 18. Well, is this true? Show me. -2 times -10 is +20, because negative times negative is positive. And 20 is greater than 18. So that's true. If we hadn't changed the direction of the inequality, we would say 20 is less than 18, and that would be wrong. All right? Here's another one. -5 times x is less than or equal to -20. Notice in this one, both sides have a negative sign. In this first one, only the left side had the negative sign. All right, divide both sides by -5. Anything over itself becomes 1, so this is just x. Change the direction of your inequality symbol, and negative divided by negative is positive. I know that, so I don't have to worry about the sign. And then 20 divided by 5 is 4. So my answer is x is greater than or equal to 4. Well, because it has or equal to, I can choose 4 as my check. So let's do that. Negative 5 times 4, I'm going to plug it into my original equation, substitute it in, right, is less than or equal to negative 20. Now, remember, when I'm checking, I always check with the original equation, okay? So, negative 5 times 4, negative times positive is negative. Negative 20 is less than or equal to negative 20, and that's true because it's equal to. Let's say I picked a number let's say I picked a number greater than 4. Let's say I said, what do you want to say? How about 6? Okay? I'm going to substitute 6 in. So I'm going to say negative 5 times 6 is less than or equal to negative 20. Negative 5 times 6 is negative 30 is less than or equal to negative 20. Is that true? Is negative 30 less than negative 20? Yes, it is. Okay? So when you have your inequality, if it's or equal to, you can pick this number. Otherwise, you need to pick a number that fulfills the statement. X is greater than 4, so I picked 6. Let's do some more. Solve, check, and graph the inequalities, because we can still graph. I didn't graph any there. Here's my problem. X divided by negative 3 is greater than 8. So I do the inverse operation. I multiply both sides by negative 3. These cancel out. Anything over itself is 1. So x comes down. Because I'm multiplying by a negative, I change the direction of my inequality, and 8 times negative 3 is negative 24. Well, let's check that, okay, before we graph it. This says x is less than negative 24. Well, since my original equation was divided by 3, negative 3, I'm going to pick a number that negative 3 will go into evenly. So I'm going to pick negative 30 because it's less than negative 24. Negative 30 divided by negative 3 is greater than 8. Negative divided by negative is positive. 30 divided by 3 is 10. 10 is greater than 8. So it shows that I did my problem correctly. Now to graph it, I make my line, I do my 3 increments, I put my number in the middle, the 2 numbers on either side, same as the last video. Now, is this an open or closed circle? Hopefully you said open. And which way does the line go? Well, that points to the left, so this goes to the left. I'm going to change pens. All right, let's do another problem. X divided by 7 is less than negative 5. Multiply both sides by 7. These cancel out. X remains. Now, I didn't change the direction of the inequality. Why not? Because 7 is not negative. 7's positive. I don't have to change it. I don't care if it's a negative on this side. It's what am I dividing or multiplying by. Okay, I'm multiplying by 7. It's positive, so I keep the direction the same. X is less than negative 35. Now let's check that. Let's pick a number that 7 goes into that's less than negative 35. How about if I pick negative 42? Because 7 goes into 42. How many times does 7 go into 42? 6. Is this positive or negative? Negative. Okay, so negative 42 divided by 7 is less than negative 5. When I do the work, I get negative 6. Negative 6 is less than negative 5. That's true. So we didn't change the direction of the inequality in this one because 7 is a positive number. So now let's graph. I drew my line, did my increments, wrote my points, the answer in the middle, the 2 numbers on either side. Is my circle going to be open or closed, my point? Once again, open. And once again, which direction does it go? To the left. Because my x is on the left, I can use my inequality symbol as my arrow. So we always rewrite it so it's on the left. Here's another problem. Negative 2 times x is greater than or equal to negative 48. I'm going to divide both sides by negative 2. Change the direction of my inequality symbol. Negative 2 over negative 2 is 1. So I get x is less than or equal to positive 24 because 2 negatives make a positive in division. 2 goes into 48 24 times. Because this is or equal to, I can use 24 in my check. So let's do that. Negative 2 times 24 is greater than or equal to negative 48. Multiply negative 2 times 24, you get negative 48. Is that greater than or equal to? Yes, it's equal to. Okay. Now I'm going to graph. So here, I've done my line, I've written my 3 points on my answer in the middle. Is my circle, my point open or closed? Hopefully you answered closed. And it's closed because it has the or equal to, because if you were just graphing x equals 24, you just put a point like that. And which direction do I go? Once again, I go to the left. I must like the less thans. All right, let's do another one. Negative 4 times x is less than negative 48. Divide both sides by negative 4, and I get x is greater than 12. Because negative divided by negative is positive, change the direction of my inequality, negative divided by negative is positive. Let's check this. Because it says x is greater than 12, I need to pick a number greater than 12. How about if I pick 20, because that's easy to multiply by. So I'm going to say negative 4 times 20 is less than negative 48. What's 4 times 2? 8. And then add your 0. So negative 80 is less than negative 48. Is that true? Yes. Okay, so I did my work right. You have to remember to change the direction of your inequality if what you're multiplying by is negative. I don't pay any attention to what's on this side until I do the math. Okay? If it's negative over here, it doesn't matter. It only matters what I'm multiplying or dividing by. All right, open or close circle for this one. Open. And which direction does it go? Finally, it goes to the right. Okay, that's all there is for this. I hope you took a lot of good notes because this is new and different, and I don't want you to make mistakes on it. That's it.